All right, we are live. Welcome to the Fat2Fit Show, where we are documenting one man's journey from morbid obesity to optimum health. I'm your host, Coach Matt, and that is my friend and client, Chris. And he has bravely decided to take control of his health. So over the next year, we're going to be sharing Chris's journey from all the challenges of adjusting his diet to the exhilaration of reaching new fitness goals. Our mission is to motivate, inspire listeners who may be struggling with their weight by showing that it's possible to overcome even the toughest of obstacles and achieve those goals. But before we dive into Chris's transformation, we're going to go over his numbers today. We want to make it clear the Fat2Fit Show does not constitute medical advice. Anyone who is attempting to lose weight should consult with their doctor to ensure their diet and exercise routine is safe and appropriate for their individual needs. So come along with us on this journey. We are in week 5, episode 4, and we want to prove with the right mindset that anything's possible. So with that little intro, we're doing things a little different. We had some tech issues last night, and Chris and I were just talking like God's trying to, I don't know if it's God helping us or the devil hurting us, but we decided to hit it early this morning, and here we are. Got a little frog in my throat, but we got our coffee going.
Yeah.
Pardon me. And we're calling this episode Fact or Friction, What is Getting in the Way? So before we dive in, I wanted to kind of go over the numbers. We're kind of finishing up week 5 since Chris and I started this journey. And so far, these are just the biometrics. And we've talked about why the scale isn't your best friend because it doesn't tell you anything. But based on our InBody 570, which is a $10,000 biometric scanner, Chris has on the scale dropped 7 pounds. And still, that's over 1.25 pounds a week. But when you look at the biometric numbers, much more encouraging and impressive to Chris, even though I think 7 pounds is great. He's gained 4 pounds of muscle and lost 12 pounds of body fat, which is a negative 2.5% body fat change in the right direction. So that is averaging over almost 2.5 pounds a week of body fat loss, which is, Chris and I agreed, or I made him agree with me in the beginning, that is a home run in the body composition and transformation journey. So you're on home run status. How does that make you feel?
Makes you feel good. Yeah, I feel good. You know, it's hard as you're this person that's so used to a scale being telling you if you're doing well or not in life. It's hard to get the mindset to change, but you know, I see it in the gym, I see it in the clothes, I see it in the things. So I know that it's moving.
Yeah, I've seen it in the gym because you're catching up with me on strength pretty fast. So I told Chris I got about 2-3 months before he's going to be kicking my butt because he's getting stronger really fast. And you are a former football player, athlete, where there was a lot of strength and conditioning training. So for those of you that don't have that kind of background, you know, the muscle gains are going to come a little bit slower. So everybody's maybe heard of the concept muscle memory. The science is actually validated. That is true. So wherever you've been in the past in terms of muscle mass and strength, you can get back to that point a lot faster than somebody that's never, you know, worked out or with weights before. So Chris is going to regain that strength pretty quickly. And
why is that?
Seeing it in the gym.
It's one of those weird questions that I hear people talk about a lot. So if you go on a crash diet and you lose a ton of weight, right? Like I did with my weight loss surgery, I lost a lot of my metabolism, right? With a lot of my muscle loss, right? Do you actually lose muscle? Does it go away? You say you gain it back fast. Does it just like shrink down and waiting for you to rehydrate it or something? How does that work?
Well, with crash dieting, 2 different questions.
Okay.
And, you know, we might touch on the popularity of the new weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Mounjaro. That's starting to gain a lot of momentum. The studies show like that and bariatric surgery and extreme diets like The Biggest Loser, all three of those have shown that like 30 to 40% of the weight loss is from lean mass or muscle tissue.
Wow.
And that's no bueno, because our muscle is our engine. And in our cars, we want fuel economy. In our engines, if we're trying to lose weight, we want the opposite. And our muscle is what burns a lot of gas. So bigger engine, more calories burned per day, aka your metabolism. So the problem with dieting the wrong way is that you lose muscle while you're losing weight. So the scale numbers look great. And this is where you and we're going to talk about next week, your lab numbers and the doctor you're working with, and where she and I completely disagree. There's this mentality, like with one of the most popular weight loss programs here in Tampa Bay area. Oh, don't exercise, eat 600 calories. Yeah, the scale number is pretty impressive, but 40 to 50% of that is muscle. So the problem with that is now you decrease your metabolism 20 to 30%. And to answer your question in a long way, it takes 6 to 12 months sometimes to recover metabolically and that muscle that you lose. And in the case of The Biggest Loser, they did a 10-year follow-up study, and over 90% of the contestants gained the weight back and then some, but their metabolism still was 30% lower than when they started the show. So that's why doing it the right way, it's more patient, it's more it's not as extreme on the scale numbers, but you're preserving your metabolism. You're actually, if you remember your InBody results, Chris and I track his InBody. That's our biometric scale, and it shows his metabolism, and his is actually going up as he has lost weight. So that's the way to do it for the long haul. And one of the facts I'm going to present to your doctor is the National Weight Loss and Control Registry of people that have lost weight and kept it off for over 3 years, a significant amount of weight. I don't know the exact number. I think it's 60 or more pounds. And that have actually kept it off. And one of the 5 common denominators is that they move and exercise an hour a day, at least 5 days a week. So that's proof in the pudding. These are the people that are doing it and are successful. And that's the evidence that I will stand on why it's important to incorporate exercise into the process, and particularly strength training. So,
Matt, is muscle in the body like a steak, like a New York strip steak? Is that what muscle is like in the body?
New York strip steak,
sirloin steak, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you like?
Yeah, muscle meats like steak and chicken breast and fish fillet. That is muscle tissue, and it's one of our organs, part of the integumentary system with your skin. But it's actin-myosin and fibers that contract over each other, and we have to, simplifying the concept, use it or lose it. Most people, unfortunately, are not using it, so we lose it. The body is very efficient at getting rid of things that you don't use, whether that's your brain or your bone or your muscle. Body's going to just we're trying to save and conserve, so we'll get rid of it. So yeah, muscle, the second part of that question you asked is muscle is like a sponge in a way, in the sense of fibers are still there. They get smaller, they don't disappear. And then as you stimulate them, they swell up like a sponge filling with water. They get more hydrated, they get thicker, and they get more connections and stronger. And your nervous system also improves. So that's actually the first 6 weeks. Most of your benefits are neurological, meaning your brain, spinal cord, and now the nerves are connecting to what we call motor units. So your body is able to fire more of those muscle fibers simultaneously, and therefore produce strength and coordination and balance. So you're like a building, like if you think of the wiring in a building, if we don't use it, it's like those wires are rusted out and get pulled out. And now your body's getting rewired and reconnected with brand new cable, or brand new whatever electrical wire. I'm not an electrician, but So you're doing all these internal cool things that prepare the body for optimum health, which is, where we're headed.
So it's easy because of that. When you have been big lifting weights wise, and let's say it's been 20 years, when you lift again, you can get it back faster than somebody who wasn't, because your muscles have memory. What you're saying is they remember what was there before, and they already have the weaving in there for you to grow faster. Does the same thing work with fat? I heard that with fat cells too. As you lose fat, the fat cells sometimes don't all go away. They just like shrink. So that's why it's sometimes easier to gain fat back, right? I've heard a whole bunch of people talk about that. Is that even a real thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh no. I know we're going off topic here.
Off the reservation. No, but whether it's muscle or fat, we used to think there was a fixed number of cells, but they've concluded and proven that this concept called hyperplasia, where you actually increase the number of cells, whether it's fat cells or muscle cells, based on that signaling. But what happens is, like, we have our fat cells, we'll just use this tennis ball as a representation of a normal fat cell. And then as we continue to overfeed ourselves, and which is, completely possible with processed foods, because our body doesn't sense those calories like it does with real whole foods, then we kind of, swell up. So that's, the fat cells individually are getting bigger and bigger. And as those cells start to reach critical mass of stretching, that's when, this is a topic for another show, inflammation starts happening. When those cell membranes are getting stretched out, you're releasing cytokines, which some of the things that you measured on your lab work are those inflammatory cytokines. So a fat cell is producing or releasing inflammation into the body, and it's like no bueno. And those inflammatory markers are sometimes a trigger of those DNA mutations that can lead to cancer and Alzheimer's and other bad stuff.
I'm looking forward to in future conversations, Matt, talk about inflammation. Because I think people get inflammation very wrong. They think I know I'm one of those people who think inflammation is something very different than how you talk about inflammation.
I mean, inflammatory response, like I always use the example of when you twist your ankle or sprain your ankle, it kind of swells up.
Yep.
So inflammation is a healing response. And when we work out, like I know one time you were worked out and you remember your number wasn't as impressive as you liked. And I asked you, are you sore? And you're like, yeah, all over. You remember when you said that?
Yep.
So that I was just reminding you, like, that is an inflammatory response to exercise, but it's temporary or acute. And it teaches the body, how to deal with inflammation. And you use it or lose it again. Your body gets better at dealing with inflammation. So one of the benefits of exercise that doesn't get talked about a lot is dealing with inflammation in the body. You're teaching your body what to do with it. But I think in the sense of most people dealing with inflammation, it's from lack of movement, and the things that we eat, like artificial and highly processed foods, are signaling the body to create lots of inflammation. And if that's happening all the time, it's just like putting sugar in your gas tank, or not, impurities in your gas. It's just going to cause problems in the engine.
Doesn't the inflammation also a big factor in heart disease and heart attacks and heart related stuff too? I've heard like inflammation in the same.
Yeah, like cholesterol for many, many, many years took the heat. And a cool analogy that I heard was like, blaming cholesterol is similar to saying ambulances are the cause of all accidents. And it's like, why do you say that? Because of causation or correlation. I mean, every accident, there's an ambulance there. So therefore, ambulances cause the accident. And that's kind of the same thing with cholesterol. Cholesterol didn't cause the accident, just like the ambulance did. It's actually cholesterol in the presence of inflammatory cytokines, where the wall of the arteries is inflamed. It creates an environment for that cholesterol to embed and create the plaque formation that ultimately causes atherosclerosis or heart disease. So one of the goals of getting healthy is doing everything possible nutritionally, exercise, sleep, and stress management to bring your level of inflammation down so there's not so much of the possibility of that situation to happen. So
is that why the ice baths and ice things are a popular thing right now? Like after you work out, like jumping in for 3 minutes or 5 minutes in a freezing cold ice water, does that help with inflammation?
oh man, you're going throwing all kinds of cool topics at me today.
I know, dude. I know. We're off
It's good. It's good.
We're so far off topic right now.
Oh, I like it. Like this is the ADD show, baby.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh man. No, I think right now biohacking and cryotherapy and ice baths and saunas are really hot topics, and there's whole businesses being created based on recovery and doing these controlling inflammation type things. But one of the things that's important to remember, that inflammatory response from exercise I described, we don't want to interrupt that, because we're interrupting the body. If we do an ice bath like within 6 hours after an intense weight training workout, or even take ibuprofen and anti-inflammatory NSAID, you're interrupting that process. So you're kind of taking away a lot of the value of it in terms of teaching the body to deal with inflammation. So that being said, 48 hours post-workout, the ice baths have been proven to definitely control inflammation. There's not as much data on cryotherapy, but what I advise people, like if you're an athlete and you have to perform the next night, performance is the issue. So controlling inflammation so you can perform at a higher level the next day. In that sense, that's why you see athletes jumping in those bath ice tubs in commercials all the time.
Well, because if you sprain your ankle, right, they say put ice on it, right? That's what helps the inflammation go away. So you think if you sit in a ice bath up to your here for 3 minutes, that's freezing cold, you're gonna have all this. It's gonna help the whole thing, your whole body. But maybe not.
I would say, like in the process of a weight training workout, wait, at least 24 hours post workout, and it can be part of like controlling your overall inflammation. Just you don't want to do it like within 6 to 8 hours of your actual workout.
Well, I don't like being cold, so it's fine with me. I try to do the cold shower thing, dude. I just have a hard time with cold. I don't know why. I'm just not I like being cold like in my house when I'm going to bed, but I'm not a big fan of being cold any other time.
Yeah, it's like it's a tough one. They got some cool ice tubs now that like you can just, like a hot tub where you can just keep it there at whatever temperature you want. One of my clients has one and he keeps it at like 36 degrees. But so all these cool gadgets are available more than ever now. We'll talk about your K-Sleep system that you're still waiting for and you're ready to wring somebody's neck and customer service there. But all these things are tools. And I think one of the things we touched on last night when we were trying to do this and the tech wasn't allow it, was just a reminder to everybody and to you, Chris, is like these gadgets and hacks and supplements, those are 5% of the process or the results. 85% or 80 at least is the big picture stuff: sleep, eating the right foods, working out, staying hydrated, and managing your stress. Like if you don't got those right, I don't care what supplements you're taking, what protocols you're on, what type of biohacking equipment you're using, your results are going to suck if you don't have the 5 big things mastered. So we don't want to lose the forest in the trees. I always tell my clients, so make sure you're doing the forest before you're spending money on supplements and all the other things. So
many people that are overweight, like myself, right? We get sucked into the YouTube rabbit hole of, all these gurus telling you this thing or that thing, or this magic pill or that magic pill, or this thing or that thing. And it's like, eat this, spoon this super special, cool ketone thing in, and all of a sudden you're going to have all this special stuff. And it's like, I feel like we want a magic pill because we're fat and overweight and we're inflamed and we suck and it hurts and we can't fit in our clothes and we're pissed off and we're mad at the world and we want to be done and we want it to be overnight. But we forget that it took us 40 something years or 50 or whatever years to get there. And it just goes back to, like, I talk to business people all the time about this. It's like, there is no magic pill to go from $0 to $1 million, right? There just isn't, right? It just takes hard work, time, effort, money. It takes all these things. And if it goes fast, typically it doesn't stick very well, right? So I feel like I'm trying to tell myself the same thing, but you get sucked into the rabbit hole of YouTube and all the things, and these really smart people tell you all these things, but you're saying, and they're talking about the 5%, right? If you're at an optimal level and you want to push it to the next 5%, that's the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, we need to do write a book together, like The Business of Weight Loss. Because and that's a great analogy you brought up. It's implementing the big picture systems, in sales, marketing, personnel, and measuring those and monitoring those things. And the weight loss journey is the same. And like you said, we get sidetracked on the next shiny marble. And I've been guilty in business of doing that a lot. Oh, I'll chase this or I'll try that. And, I'm not doing the basics. And the basics is what makes you successful in business. I was going to show you, like, you made a good point. Like, that's the title of my book, The Magic Pill, which is really a metaphor for movement and exercise is the magic pill. We want those fast results because people are like water. We seek the path of least resistance. We want instant gratification. We see people on social media and magazine covers, and we think, it looks like overnight sensation, and same with celebrities and business. Like, everybody thinks, and they'll get celebrated for overnight sensation, but behind every overnight sensation was typically 10 to 15 years of grinding and work and doing the work before they became an overnight sensation. So we like glorify that, but it's really not the case in most situations.
I follow Mark Wahlberg a lot. I'm a big Mark Wahlberg fan, right? And he's big on, when he does a role, he gets ready for the role, right? So he'll gain a bunch of weight for a role, he'll lose a bunch of weight for a role, and he's just I feel like he's not a humongous follower of celebrity people, but on Instagram he talks about the struggle all the time, right? He's a fit dude. And staying fit, right? And all the things he has to do. And he gets up at 3 a.m. and does I think it's the 3 a.m. club or whatever he does, and all the different things. And he's constantly on there, and he almost never talks about any of that stuff. He talks all about the workout, eating right. He talks about his process. And he says in there, I just watched his video like 2 days ago. He was talking about this. He goes, I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. I've been working out. I've been doing all these things since I was 16 years old. So people want to pay him to endorse something. He's like, I didn't use that product to get there. I was already there. I'm there to they want to use my name to endorse this product they're selling, but I didn't use this product or this special chemical or this special thing to get fit. The fit is eating, nutrition, working out, right? That's what he was talking about. And I was like, man, that's such a good. More people need to hear that.
Yeah, and credit him for having that integrity to not send the wrong message and communicate to people, if you take this supplement, you're going to look like me. And that's unfortunate reality of marketing. It creates that an emotional response and people buy it. And then they realize, okay, it doesn't make me Mark Wahlberg overnight, but
my wife wants me to look like Mark Wahlberg overnight.
Oh, you're gonna be Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch in your Calvin Klein's, baby.
Yeah, I can sing. I can rap.
I don't know if they even make underwear anymore, but it'll be your fruit of the looms.
All right, I screwed up this whole thing by asking all these questions in advance. Sorry, Matt. Keep
going.
This
is my favorite episode so far because it was just true random thoughts and questions, but I had a couple for you.
Just so everybody knows, this is how Matt and I talk in the sauna. When we work out
Yes,
together, we're sitting in the sauna or working out. This is how we operate. I ask him a lot of
exactly.
crazy questions, and this is why we started doing this.
Yep. And so I called the show Factor Friction, and I wanted to kind of talk about, for everybody's benefit and yours, this concept of friction, and something a lot of successful people use, and I do. Essentially, the idea is like friction is like the physics of friction is resistance, or the more friction, the harder something is to move or push. So we want to create more friction between us and the things that we shouldn't be doing, and less friction between us and the things that we should be doing. And what does that look like in the real world? Like, I knew I had to get up extra early this morning to do this show before I work out. So I wanted to have enough time to prep. So I literally slept in my compression shorts and had my gym clothes sitting on my, that whatever it's called, the footboard of my bed, ready to roll. So I was creating less friction between me and my clothes being in a drawer, just
Yes.
a little bit of less friction there. So Chris, my question for you is like, you know, you've instituted a lot of significant changes, and we talked about the mindset shift of kind of embracing that. But how have you reduced the friction between you and getting to the gym consistently for 6 days a week into your already busy schedule? And then maybe you have an example of where you've created more friction between you and the things that we wanted to move away from, which was fast food drive-throughs and those business lunches where you're kind of tempted to eat less healthy foods. So turn it over to you.
A lot of good. Okay, I got a lot on this one. So, I'll go the what I've added first. So, like for me, I'm an early guy. We wake up early anyways, right? So I'm typically up before most people on the planet wake up, and I typically get a lot done in the morning before 7 a.m. Typically, I'm up 4:30. Typically, I'm a pretty early riser, have been for 20 years. So in the morning, what I do at night now is every day. This is what I do is I put my gym shoes, my socks, my workout clothes, my towel. I make my if I'm gonna have a pre-workout shake or anything, I do everything in advance the night before. I set it all up. I got my heart rate monitor. I got my headphones charged. I got everything sitting in one spot. I don't like to wake my wife up or my kids up, so I kind of like tiptoe sneak out of my room into like our living room, and so everything's in there every day. So before I go to bed, as part of my checklist is that first of all, did I put the coffee on for my wife and I, because we like coffee, and did I get all my pills together for the next day? So we do before I go to bed, I put all my pills together for the next day. I put all my shake stuff together for the next day. I put all my workout stuff together for the next day, so that there's no reason to not do it. Right? I wake up in the morning and I do my Bible study. I do my time with the Lord, and then I go, and then I get my stuff together and I go. Right? And
Mhm.
because you've been working out with me, I don't wait for you. I just go. So if you're there, great. If not, I get started, and it just helps me. Just like I don't like having anything stop me from the process moving forward, right? So
Mhm.
those are the things that I've done to add, to make it easier to
Reduce
do.
friction.
Yeah, to get to the gym. I actually enjoy the gym. I enjoy the sauna at the end. It just like I don't
Mhm.
know, for something about it. It's very like spiritual. It like helps me get like recentered for the day. Um, Stuff that I've said no to or stopped doing, or things that I've done that to help make that possible, because I wasn't just sitting around for 2 hours in the morning doing nothing every day before I went to start doing the gym. Is I told my team I'm not coming into work in the morning super early anymore. Right? I told them to figure it out, and they're getting it done. So I have the freedom to go. When I do have lunches and business meetings out, I get to pick the spot. I'm picking spots that I know I can have healthy food.
Mm.
So I know where I can have the food. I've started to, sugar is a drug, right? So as you stop taking it, you stop needing it as much. So I've
Mhm.
stopped like cold turkey eating all the things. And some people say, oh, moderation is good and have a little bit of this or a little bit of that. I don't think that's real, because I think what happens is if you're addicted to something, if you're addicted to cocaine or to whatever, you can't have a little bit of cocaine, right? It's the same kind of, I tell people all the time, the thing about food as an addiction is it's readily available anywhere you go, and it's really bad. Well, if you're addicted to cocaine, you have to go find it from a drug dealer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were and you had a little bit of cocaine on the table every once in a while, you couldn't walk by it if you were addicted to it and not have it, right? Same thing with food. That's the way I look at it. So for me, it's been very easy just to turn it off. Like, I don't want any of it. And now I enjoy steak, and I enjoy, I told you the different vegetables that I've been trying, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the different proteins, and I enjoy figuring out how to eat complex carbs and how to make them work. So for me, I pack a lunch every day. I've done that anyways, but I pack a lunch. I put all the right foods in there just in case I can't hit just in case something bad happens during the day and I can't get to a place that has good food.
Mm-hmm.
And some days I come home and I didn't even touch it. I just put it back in the fridge and I eat it the next day if it's possible. But most of the time I'm adding. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm dictating where we go to have a meeting, so I know there's food I can eat. I'm making it very easy to do the things by there's no no obstacles in my way to stop. I don't know if that's a long answer to this.
Oh, dude, you just rattled off 6 topics for YouTube Shorts for us. You hit so many good things. I just want to draw everybody's attention to what he just said and sum it up. Like, one, he's prepped the night before to reduce friction. That is so valuable, and it can be the game changer between you and getting to the gym, because it's early morning. You want the least amount of friction as possible. You talked about the sauna, like almost like a dessert
Yes.
for you that you look forward to, and it's like, I got to get to the gym because then I get my cherry on top at the end. Something you look forward to. I tell people, like, if you have a guilty pleasure of some Netflix thing, watch it while you're working out, and then you start making that association between the two, and then working out becomes an enjoyable, look forward to activity.
Mm.
And then 3, you started instituting choice and picking your lunch spots versus being a victim. You become taking control of your situation. So this is just simple things, but these make big changes. Then number 4, you talked about a great concept. And if you're a food addict, and addiction is a real thing with food. Absolutely. The same opioid receptors that heroin triggers, wheat triggers, and sugar hits those dopamine receptors just like cocaine. So for some people, yeah, it's like I say, some people, it's like food is like heroin. You can't just have a little bit in moderation. So for some people, you may have to kind of do the all or nothing approach like Chris is doing until you maybe gain mastery over that. But some things, like, I always say, taste sweet, you crave sweet. So a little bit can lead to a lot of it.
Yes.
Then 5, this concept of awareness that I talk about a lot. If you have to be aware if you are that personality type. If you have an addictive personality and you've suffered addictions in other areas, it's very likely that food could be another one for you.
No.
Typically, where there's one, there's others. And it's just the way you're wired. So just have to have that awareness. And, so those are, 5 really important points you just rattled off there.
Man, I want to say one more thing too. I meet business people all the time, right? And I ask them why they're doing what they do. Like, why start this business? Why do this? Or, why are you doing it? And if they don't have a very compelling why, or I even say, like, begin with the end in mind, right? If they don't have a good ending for what they're starting, they won't stick to it and they won't do well in it, and they'll just sit in it and it'll just spin around in the circle and it won't go anywhere. So I feel like my age, I have people around me that are my age having strokes. I have a friend that had a heart attack. I've had people die around me recently. I have 2 kids that are teenagers. I feel like as you get age is the multiplier, right? As you get older, you do things, you can say no to sweets a lot easier when you know the outcome you're trying to perform, right? I don't want to be my mother who was 54 and had a heart attack and died and never got to see her kids, grandkids, right? She never got to spend any time with them. She worked her butt off working 200 million hours a week my whole life to just die and not be able to enjoy any of the things. And I don't want to be that person. And I don't, so if I don't have to have people go, oh man, you got to live a little bit, man. Having a scoop of ice cream isn't going to kill you. Well, I want grandkids and I want to be able to walk in a mountain when I'm 60 years old more than I care about having a dessert.
Amen. How do you keep the importance of that, what we call, your why, your purpose? How do you remind yourself of that on a daily basis, an hourly basis? Like, how do you keep that front and center so that those daily decisions, are attached to the reason you're doing it?
So in the Bible, God talks a lot about building an altar to remind you of where the deliverance that God has given you, right? The things that He's delivered you of, because we are very terrible humans about remembering the storms that we've come out of and the things that God has delivered us from. I think you have to find a way to build an altar to remind yourself of where you've come and where you're going, right? So when you fall back into the storms that come in life that happen all the time, like the ones I'm going through right now, right? You can look back at the last storm and say, oh, well, that altar, right, that reminded me of this thing that I went through and I got over it and God delivered me from that. And here's what happened. So this one is no different than that, Chris. And it gives you, it gives you motivation. It helps you understand, for me, my kids every single day, there's something new happening with my kids. And it reminds me that they're the time with them here with my home is slowly moving away. It's moving away faster than I want it to. So it's reminding me daily that I've got to get myself in a place to be able to be in the second phase of life with them. So I don't know that there's a thing that I do that helps me remind myself every day. It just is constantly forward in my brain,
And it's so, I feel and believe and see from the clients that have been successful, like that's such a critical ingredient. And so, you got me emotional there, Chris. I love my wife, my kids. Like that's what I thank God for every day. And in my struggles and life circumstances, I always remind myself on a daily basis, first thing, to be grateful for the things that, we work for. Like those are the things that like I wanted more than anything in life. And so despite the storms that we all go through, and for everybody's benefit, Chris is going through some really challenging stuff right now. And I'm really proud of you for like not letting that derail you from these things that are ultimately more important than business, because having you around when you're 60 and 70 and 80 is going to matter a lot more than what yard got mowed yesterday.
That's right.
But really hit some great stuff this episode, and man, it's been fun journey. Next week we will talk about going over Chris's numbers that he did, 18 vials or 14 vials of blood.
14, yeah.
Yeah, he thought he was gonna, like, they sucked all the blood out of him, but so we'll go over some of the numbers and why it's important to measure some of that stuff and track it. And then we'll also do one like you asked on inflammation. We can do a deeper dive on that. So so stay tuned next week. You have any encouragement you want to leave everybody with before we sign off?
No, I don't. Hopefully we were encouraging today. This is the reason why we started this. This is what Matt and I talk about all the time. And I'm a researcher, and I like to watch YouTube videos, and I like to do stuff. So I watch stuff, and then I ask Matt about it, and then he does what he does and says all those crazy big words that he did already today. And so this is why we started this. Is hopefully this helps other people out there. They're doing the same thing that we're doing, and hopefully, and I don't ever see the comments or any of the communication from this, but if people do watch this and they have questions and they think, hey, what you said, I want more information about that or more deeper dive, they need to be reaching out. That's the whole purpose of this, is to help. So if we're just doing something and we're saying something and you want more, ask. Matt's not going to try to sell you anything. There's nothing to buy, right? He wants you to be healthy. He wants you to be alive. So if that turns into making money for Matt, great. If it doesn't, great. Either way, I guarantee you, I know Matt's heart. It doesn't matter. So if somebody watches this that I'm friends with or you're friends with or sees this, and we want people to get committed to, being better. So if they have questions, then help us with this.
Yeah. And in fact, my wife and I just launched a program we're calling YOLO, which stands for Year of Life and Onward. And it's a 1-year health, happiness, and mindset coaching program where we take people through preventive screening, like basically the journey Chris is going through. We take people through that 1-year process, and just like teaching somebody to fish versus giving somebody a fish, the goal is to teach people how to fish so they're healthy and happy for a lifetime. And that's the journey we're documenting right here, right now. And it's been really encouraging for me just to watch you embrace this and inspiring other people. And as the numbers keep changing, people will really buy into the process, and hopefully they'll go back and see all the work from the beginning and, realize it wasn't overnight. But so thank you. I know you got your some household things happening right now, and I got to go get to my workout. But
I'm going to the gym too. So.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go get it done and check that box today, the workout box. And love you, Chris. And we'll see you on next week's episode of the Fat2Fit Show. Everybody have a great weekend or a great day, whatever is happening, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Yeah.